Hello, so today's video is a review of Maison Margiela's new release, Ideal One. So I've been gifted this bottle of perfume and that's the sole reason I'm marking this as an advert. I've not been paid to discuss this fragrance, I've not been expected to discuss this fragrance, I've just been gifted the bottle. You will get my unfiltered thoughts on this fragrance. So with that out of the way, this fragrance was released in 2025 alongside another fragrance called Celestial Whispers, which I haven't tried. This fragrance comes from the EDP line, so you can tell the EDP line from Maison Margiela from the EDT line because the EDPs are in these black bottles, whereas the EDTs are in the clear bottles. As you may know, I've reviewed all of the EDT fragrances in the Maison Margiela line up to about the beginning of 2024 in one single video where I ranked them all against each other. So I'm going to leave that video linked down below in the description box in case you want to go check that out. But for this video, I'm just going to talk about Ideal One. So according to the brand, Ideal One is about the idea of intimacy with your perfect match. So it's supposed to give you the idea of two skins merging into one. So to me, that idea translated into fragrance would translate as something like musks, perhaps some amberette, perhaps something even slightly nutty, some light florals, perhaps some iris, but something quite neutral and white feeling, something soft and ethereal and light. So that essentially is what I was expecting from this fragrance, but I feel like the description of this fragrance from the brand and the reality of this fragrance present a huge disconnect. And that doesn't mean to say that this is not a nice fragrance. It just means that it doesn't fit with the marketing that's been put out by the brand. In short, what I'm saying is don't blind buy this based on the marketing, based on the note profile, because ultimately when you smell it, you may smell something very different to what you're expecting. So the listed notes for this fragrance are in the top, elemi, orange essence and bergamot. In the mid, orange blossom and lavender. And in the base, oud accord, musks and guaic wood. So when you first spray this fragrance, the first thing you notice is the elemi. It is a very resinous feeling fragrance in the first few minutes. The strange thing about the elemi here is the elemi normally smells quite lemony. And initially here, it doesn't. It smells orangey, probably because of that orange accord that's along with the elemi in the top notes. Also, initially, you get some very noticeable amberwood. But here, to me, it's relatively mild. I really don't like amberwood in fragrances. It can really put me off. But I wasn't put off by the amberwood here because it's not scratchy. There's also the mildest possible feeling of lavender early on. It's something that's very much more something that has a bit of a herbal aspect to it than maybe a floral aspect. But even so, it's very, very mild. I think if it hadn't been listed, if I hadn't been looking out for it, I probably wouldn't have even clocked it. After a few minutes, the biggest element becomes really the guaic wood. You get a slight smokiness here. It's really only slightly smoky, and I don't know whether it's a mixture of that along with the resinous feel of the elemi. But to me, it feels like there's something like a tonka here or perhaps a vanilla. It's sort of slightly spiced, warm, slightly powdery and slightly vanillic. As this begins to dry down, you begin to get some leatheriness and you still have a little bit of the smokiness and also some of the sweetness. The final dry down is really the amberwood along with that oud accord and a very, very mild leatheriness, but still with a sweetness and still with the smokiness. Overall, I think I describe this as a slightly smoky, resinous, mild tonka fragrance with some woods and some leather. For me, this fragrance is really quite strong, at least in the first few hours. It's something that really jumps off my skin even with one spray. Really, it's pretty linear after about the first 30 minutes. I think this is a fragrance because of that you can easily try and store because it's not going to change too much after that 30 minutes. It's something you can easily judge in quite a small period of time. So when I think about the idea behind this fragrance presented by the brand, when I think about the name of the fragrance, Ideal One, I wouldn't ever associate intimacy with such a loud, strong fragrance. This is something that really isn't gentle or soft or skin-like. But I do think when I'm smelling this, I get reminded of other fragrances, especially from the Maison Margiela line. So the one that I think about most of all is By the Fireplace. I don't think they're the same fragrance at all, but I think the smokiness and also that sort of slightly sweet vanillic feeling is perhaps what's reminding me of By the Fireplace. I also do think a little bit of YSL's Baby Cat, but of course there's not the saffron here. And I also think of a fragrance that I very recently bought, Maubuson's Star, which is something that is far sweeter, slightly lighter, and also more vanillic. I think if you are someone who likes all four of those fragrances, this is a fragrance that you should perhaps try. But I think the sticking point with this one is going to be whether you like leather, whether you like oud, whether you like guaic wood. Guaic wood is something that can be sometimes quite challenging to people, especially for people who do not like smokiness in fragrances. I feel like this is quite a mild guaic wood fragrance, but it is very much definitely there. I also feel that despite the unisex marketing, despite obviously that anybody can enjoy this fragrance, I feel like this one would more generally appeal to more men than it would to women. I have read a few reviews of this fragrance online because it's been out a few weeks and I was interested to see what other people were saying about it. And I'm actually quite shocked by the negative reaction to this fragrance. And I'm wondering why, because it reminds me of so many commercially successful fragrances that are already out there on the market. The other thing that really surprised me when I was reading reviews of this was that it seemed to be being compared with Gucci Guilty Absolute Put On. I've tried that fragrance and I can't say that I like that one, even though it is, supposedly a masterpiece. It clearly isn't a masterpiece that was meant for me. But I can't see any comparison of that fragrance with this fragrance. It maybe shares a few notes, but to me they smell nothing alike. So this fragrance is £165 for 100ml. I don't think it comes in a smaller quantity than 100ml. It may later on appear in a travel size or in a 30ml, but for now I don't think it does. So the ultimate question that I nearly always ask in all of my reviews is, would I buy this for me? And I think you probably know the answer. This one just isn't my scent profile again. This is something, having said that, I do actually like this fragrance. It's not a love, it's not a hate. It's somewhere in the middle for me. This one is very much a wintry, cold weather kind of fragrance for me, I think. I don't think I'd want to wear this one in the summertime. Unsurprisingly from the notes in this fragrance, I did find this to be relatively eternal on my skin. And it was something that I found to be very strong. It definitely does project. People can smell it. It's a room filler, this one. So yeah, go easy on the trigger with Ideal One. Please do let me know if you've tried Ideal One or if you've tried Celestial Whispers or which other fragrance from the Maison Margiela line is your favourite. And thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video. I hope this review has been useful. If it has been useful, then please do press the like button and please also consider subscribing if you haven't done already, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.